Right now, one of the main things that we need to look at is being able to manage change, focusing or helping staff to focus on what didn't change. The minute that you start to talk with anybody about changes that you need to make or changes that the company is going to make, everyone kind of goes blank. They start thinking automatically about what's this going to do for me? Am I going to lose hours? Am I going to lose money? Am I going to lose my position? What's going to happen with all of this? So everyone relates at that level. They're worried about what's going to happen next. And I always try to focus staff on number one, just kind of laying the groundwork. There are some changes in our lives that are really positive. Marriage can be a very positive one. Having a new child, a new job. There's a lot of exciting things that happen to us that are also changes. So, usually, when I'm presenting a change to someone, I'm also presenting or helping them walk through with this change what will not change, what's going to stay the way it always was. So that kind of helps people then to identify really out of what looks like a tremendous change, there's only a couple of things that will strongly impact anything. And once you do that, then you can begin to look at the potential positives that will come with that change. Communication was another area that we wanted to look at this evening. And I'm talking about communication with that marvelous manager style. I think one of the things that I learned early on in management that I wish I would have learned much sooner, and it took me a long time to figure it out. But you all know that someone will come to you, usually one staff member, complaining about another staff member. And our tendency is to want to get involved in that. So we want to be the peacemaker, we want to be the one to help them, we want to be the one to help them sort everything out. But I think if you step back for a minute and just say to that person, have you already talked to them about this? Many times the answer is no. When you hear no, that automatically tells you you need to redirect. So you need to say to them, are you coming to me to talk about it because you want me to intervene? Or are you trying to get advice on how to address the situation? If they say they want me to intervene, I always say, let's start by you going back and talking with that person about what the problem is. If they tell you that they don't feel comfortable talking to them, then I usually just let it go. It's like it's something you need to address one on one first before you bring it to me. If they do bring it to you later, then the door is open for you to say, I know you both have talked about this. I know you've identified what the problem is, but it doesn't sound like it's working yet. It doesn't sound like you've come up with a solution. How can I help you? And sometimes they want to know, they do want to address it with the other person. They just want some advice on how to have the conversation. And that's okay too. But what I find is if you listen to one person, you go to the other staff member and say, so and so said this about you or said this was a problem, then they automatically become angry. Go back to the first person who then says, well, I didn't really say that, or that's not what I meant. And before it's all over with, they've gone away to make peace with each other and now they're both mad at you. So just learning and looking at the different ways that we communicate. Even being able to do conflict resolution. What is the problem? Have the people directly involved already attempted to resolve the problem? What is each person's goal? How can I help? And just talking with them about never say no. And I use that a lot, or I've used that a lot with my staff in buildings. When I was doing more regional management, I'm not the person in the building every day. My director of rehab and the staff were. And so I would say to them, when an administrator or director of nursing comes to you and they are saying, they want this, that, and the other, and you know that we don't want to do it or you don't want to do it, you need to not say yes if you think it's going to be a problem. You need to not say no either. You simply need to say, let me check with my manager on that and get back with you. I think it may be something we might be able to do. I'm not really sure how we'd go about it. Let me check and get back with you. That automatically takes you out of the picture. Sometimes a person above you really will not want that done, or they may want it done, but they want to charge for it. Or they may say, yes, there's a way to get it done more efficiently so we can still meet the customer demands without having a financial loss when we're doing it. So those are things that I think you learn as you progress, and hopefully some things that will continue to teach you this evening and ongoing. Interaction, lots of different ways. It can be over the phone, it can be a text message, it can be an email, it can be a paper trail, or it can be in person. And I think the biggest weakness I see as healthcare professionals and with directors of rehab that I work with is not wanting to commit to the use of the email. So I want to call you on the phone and tell you something. I want to send you a text message, which gets lost with a million other little text messages. I want to create a paper trail. So writing down on this piece of paper and making 17 copies of it and putting it in everyone's mailbox to let you all know that Thursday is Mabel's last day in therapy. But a couple of people didn't get it. One person got it out of the mailbox, folded it up, put it down inside their pocket, never to be seen again, and denied they ever received it. Or we want to tell somebody something in person, but we're going one way down the hallway and they're going the other way down the hallway. So, my best advice is to really use email effectively and use email a lot. That's your paper trail electronically. So the information is there. You can see who it was sent to. You can see what time it was sent. It's your proof for your boss. If someone says, well, I never knew that, no one ever told me, I wasn't aware, there's your proof. And it's also your proof just in terms of, did that email actually go through? Maybe there was a glitch in the system and it got dropped. But it just makes a really nice way of handling things. It also makes a great way of handling things if there are employee problems down the road. You've laid the groundwork. I sent an email to identify this was a problem. At the time, I didn't think it was that much of a deal, not that big of a deal, but it happened on June 2nd. It happened again on July the 3rd. It happened again July 17th. It happened again August the 5th. It's getting to be a pattern of a behavior that we don't want to see. And there's your paper trail or your email trail, if you will, to share with other people. It can also be a great interaction when someone tells you something but refuses to put it in writing for you, refuses to acknowledge the conversation or the information. I will send them an email and say, it's my understanding based on our conversation today that this is what you want, and spell it out. And then say, if anything here was misinterpreted and it's not correct, please let me know via email by 5 p.m. on Friday if I've misunderstood everything. So even if they won't commit in writing, that's your way of getting that commitment. So later on down the road, you can either they committed back to you in an email, or there's your proof. It's like, I asked you to respond if I misunderstood anything and I never got the email back. So those are just helpful techniques to take you to that next level. Managing staff. Several years ago, I attended a meeting and the guest speaker was Hyler Bracy. If you've never had the opportunity to read Managing from the Heart, please do. He was very much a workaholic. So he ran a factory. It was open 24/7. It was open on Christmas Day. He expected everyone to be there. He never took a break from anything. He was always working. But his one little thing on the side was stock car racing, and he was actually very passionate about it. But unfortunately, His stock car crashed. He was in it. He was burned over 90% of his body. Basically, when he presented to us, his hands, his feet had almost melted. As I was saying before I was interrupted, when I saw Hyler Bracy, he had actually been burned so badly that his hands and feet had melted, and he was very severely deformed. Uh, but he kind of got something out of all of that, I guess. He was in the hospital for over a year, and he began to revisit, the time that he had lost from his family at work and the time that he was causing other people to lose. And from that, he wrote a book called Managing from the Heart. And he would tell people to look for someone's loving intention. And he told the story that his wife and he were out, getting ready to go out, or she was getting ready to go out, and he had been mowing the yard. And so when he saw that she was getting ready to leave and go out with her friends, he went inside, poured a couple of glasses of wine, and invited her to sit on the back porch, and that they'd have a glass of wine together before she left. Well, as they're sitting sipping their wine, she looks out. He left the lawnmower in the yard. He left a lot of tools and everything. And she began to really, complain to him about leaving things laying around. And he said what she missed in all of that was that I left them to go get some wine and for she and I to share time together before she left for the evening. And he goes, she missed that loving intention. So he kind of says people don't come to work with the intention of causing a problem. And so sometimes merely to say, or, talk with somebody and say, I noticed you did this, which isn't necessarily the way I would have done it or what I would have thought about doing, but share with me, why you took that path or why you did what you did, just to acknowledge that probably the intention was good, even if the outcome wasn't what you were looking for. I think you have to be able to establish a goal and then don't worry about how people get there. A lot of times when I was doing performance planning with people, I would simply say, what are your goals and how do you plan to get there? And with people that are a problem employee, they're not meeting the goals or there are issues there, to identify those issues, help them by knowing what those goals need to be, what are you expecting, and have them write up their plan about how they're going to get there. Not you, them. That way, in a week or a month or whatever, you can sit down with them and revisit and say, this is what I wanted. I'm getting some of it. You said you were going to do one, two, three, four. One, two look like they're working great. Three's kind of working. Four's not working at all. But it was you that said this was what you were going to do. So what happened? And can we get it on track and get three and four working really well also to meet the goal? It's such a different approach than constantly dictating what the goal is, how you have to do it, when you have to do it. It's just a different, more stress-free approach for everyone. Anytime you can make a decision as a group, that's even better. Hey guys, this is my problem. Any suggestions on how we might want to handle it? And if it's not open, if you know there's only a few things available, you can say that too. You can meet with a group and say, this is my problem. There's three separate solutions for the problem, and I kind of want to get feedback from all of you as to which one you think might work the best, or maybe there's something in there I've missed. That way, everybody's got buy in. And I think you have to be very, very honest when things aren't going well. It was very interesting to me when I won District Manager of the Year award when I was with Aegis Therapies, and HR couldn't understand it because they said, when our employees fill out surveys, your group complains more than anybody else. So they complain about every little thing all the time. But on the flip side, your revenue was better than anyone else in the company, your clinical programming was better than anyone else in the company, and oddly enough, your employee retention was better than anyone else in the company. Well, there's a good reason for that. I kind of created a climate where people could complain. They could say when something was wrong. They could say when something was bothering them, and then we'd work towards a solution. you have to put you have to put a top on that. I had one employee that I inherited from someone else, and I was told she's a problem employee. She's going to be nothing but problems. She's going to ring your phone day and night all the time. And she did. She started out doing that with me. And I just kind of put a stop to it and said, whoa, stop, wait just a minute here. I want to talk to you about all of this. So, what I asked her to do was to go ahead and write down everything that she thought was wrong.